Cajon Pass, a mountain pass between the San Bernardino Mountains to the east and San Gabriel Mountains to the west in Southern California. The steep grade is not only tough to climb, but also hard going down without going too fast sometimes, especially in the winters. And you're probably wondering, what if there was an incident that happened? Well, in 1957, it would happen. Cajon Pass would later become the grave for one locomotive that died during a run over Cajon Pass. This is the story of Nerophous, the evil big boy. Nerophous, please be careful going up to the summit. If you keep acting this way, you could get yourself into an accident, or you could most likely die. I've been in Cajon Pass a bunch of times. It shouldn't be a struggle. Nerophous, you don't get it. Cajon Pass is not a safe place for an engine. You could either run away with your brakes failing, or the slippery rails that are covered in ice.
Mark's right, Nerophous. You know, when I've been to Cajon Pass for the first time, I was worried that my air brakes would fail and I would run away.
Well, I wasn't, and it wasn't even snowing. It was surely hard climbing up the grade, but I managed to get to my destination. But that doesn't mean the grade is safe, Nerophous. Not to mention that you collide in the caboose of a sign, which is a pretty bad enough accident, but please don't get yourself into one which is much worse than that.
I agree with Jake. Also, Cajon Pass is like Donner Pass and is equally as dangerous, so please be careful.
You all worry too much. I don't need any of your advices. I can take care of this myself. And now if you'll excuse me, I got a train to pull. Those will be the last words Nerophous will ever exchange with Jason, Mark, Neo, Liz, Jenny, Jake, Lillian, and all the other locomotives. Hey engineer, do we have y'all clear? Yep, got a word from the dispatcher. We could go now. Guys, I have a feeling that something bad is gonna happen to him. So do I, Mark. So do I. Huh? Uh-oh. What's the trouble, driver? We're losing air pressure. It was that moment that Nerophous realized Mark is right. He would lose his air brakes and run away down the grade. Come in, dispatcher. Come in, dispatcher. Union Pacific home dispatcher to westbound 4007. Over. Yes, this is westbound 4007. Are you the ones in emergency? Yes, we are. We're almost at 50 miles per hour and we can't slow down. Our air brakes are running out and the slippery rails are covered in ice. Soon, Nerophous became a runaway. He and his train were picking up speed as they proceeded down. They went to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80 as they kept going downhill. Central, westbound 51 to Union Pacific home dispatcher. Over. Yes, this is Union Pacific home dispatcher to westbound 51. Over. Why did you stop us? There is a runaway coming toward you on track 1. Westbound 51, answer me. I don't see a runaway. You'll be close enough to see it till you're dead. Get it? He's about 4 miles away, so I need to get to you on track 2 at once. Repeat, at once. Oh my god. There was nothing that the crew could do to save their train, so they immediately jumped off as soon as possible, leaving Nerophous on its own. But as he came around the curve, it happened. A loud, horrific scream was the last sound Nerophous ever made as he and the stream flew off the curve at 80 miles per hour, colliding in a wall of rock. Nerophous' boiler exploded from impact, which started a massive fire and his cars tumbling behind him, spilling their contents. Even the tank cars were loaded with flammable chemicals and hazardous materials, which made the fire even worse. But the fire was later put out 8 hours after the incident, and all the wreckage was cleaned up. After that, the news of Nerophous' death started to spread across the entire Union Pacific Railroad. Mark, Jason, Neil, Liz, Thomas, Dave, Otis, Angela, Jake, Jenny, Violet, Skylar, Chase, Braden, Simon, Marky, David, Maria, Benny, and all the other Union Pacific locomotives heard about it too, and they were heartbroken. They mourned the loss of Nerophous, and they watched as Nerophous' last remains were taken in for scrap and were eventually cut up, and soon Nerophous was gone. Later on, the cause of the accident was determined to be a kink in the air hose that triggers the brakes and icy rails. When the train started to go downhill, the slack in the train couplers bunched together, which cut off the train's brakes. The kink happened between the 7th and 8th car of the train. Not to mention, there were heavy snowfalls on Cajon Pass, which led to the rails getting slippery and getting covered in ice. That plus the air brakes led to Nerophous' death, and soon Nerophous' fate was sealed. Around 30 years later, a USRA heavy mount was dropping off 3 flat cars of steel beams in a smelter's yard when all of a sudden, a Western Maryland free chime whistle can be heard somewhere in the distance, and that whistle belonged to an engine which was a Union Pacific big boy in black paint, the number 4007, and grim expression. It was Nerophous. Nerophous stared at the mount while the mount was scared and frozen on the spot, unable to move. But when Nerophous started puffing forward towards him, the heavy mallet started to back away. He heard the story from some of the other engines telling stories to one another, so he knew about Nerophous' death as well. But as he kept backing up, he reached a set of buffers and he couldn't go any further. He was trapped, and once again, the heavy mallet was scared, frozen on the spot, and unable to move as Nerophous puffed closer and closer to him, while still staring at him at the same grim expression. The heavy mallet blade was now shaking in extreme fear, and what he saw next was terrifying. Red demon eyes and sharp teeth, and then it happened. Nerophous killed that poor locomotive. He went for the face, which was the weakest point, and he tortured him until he was dead. By next morning, scrapyard workers arrived to work, and when they went into the smelting shed, They were frightened at the sight of a locomotive corpse, and investigators were called to see what happened to the locomotive, but however, they didn't know what happened. So, after several weeks of investigation, all research would be abandoned, and the fate of USRA 4512 would be sealed. Today, Nerophous wears a black paint and not greyhound paint like he used to. If you see a big boy in black paint, red demonized and a black number with red numbers, that's Nerophous. And if he sees you, he'll kill you. Today, Nerophous roams the rails of the American Southwest, killing every single engine in his path. So it's my best to warn you that you need to stay away from Nerophous, because if you end up encountering him, there's no escape from him. And that is the story of Nerophous, the evil big boy. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.